Hello, and welcome to the Full Advisor Coaching Podcast with your host, Kristin Harad. Kristin, good to see you. I've seen you in other podcasts recently. You're getting around.
I am. I'm trying. I enjoy getting out and talking with other people aside from hosting here. So it's been a lot of fun. So, it's just spreading the word.
Yeah, good.
Trying to help advisors, help them in their quest to create what they want in their lives. So that's what we're here for. And the more platforms I can go out to be able to share my knowledge, expertise, commentary, happy to do it.
It's great. It's great. And it's a welcome voice. And I enjoy listening to them. And I know that people who follow this podcast enjoy listening to you. So what are you talking about today?
I'm excited today because we are going to take a page out of the Netflix playbook.
Ooh.
We're going to be talking about client experience. And I'm very excited because I don't always get to this part of the business development ecosystem. You know, how everyone's always focused on how do we attract more people in, more people in the door, more people in the door. How do we convert them faster, do all these different things? But the key piece in the whole system is the client experience. So we're going to talk about how to create raving fans, which we all know when you have those, you're not only going to retain and keep those clients for life, they also are going to refer you out. And there's many, many great things about that. So I have a guest with me today who's going to share some really cool insights on this. And he and I had a pre-conversation about this. So I'm excited to bring this out now. Today, I have John Prendergast, and you may know him. He's out on LinkedIn all the time. You know me and the LinkedIn, Bill. John is the co-founder and CEO of Blueleaf, which is kind of all-in-one wealth management software. And that's probably selling it short to say that. So we'll get into more about it. And he also serves as the chief product officer. And when he's not innovating new ways to help simplify advisors' life, which is what he's all about, you'll find him interviewing guests on his own podcast, The Augmented Advisor, or enjoying life in Massachusetts with his wife of 25 years. They just celebrated. That was exciting. And I'm happy to have John here. I hadn't touched base with John in many years, and it was great to get back on the phone with him and chat and bring him in today for this interview. Thanks, John, for coming.
So happy to reconnect, Kristin. It's
I know
it's crazy how long we've known one another. I think I was talking before the show. I think it was 2010 at a TD Ameritrade show that we met.
Yeah. I would say we were definitely saying it's been at least a decade. And I just have been following all of your content and sharing on LinkedIn over the last few years. You've really brought a great personality to bear. I love the content you're putting out there, the videos, the memes, the education. It's been really, fun to follow along. And, I was excited to have you come out here today.
Yeah, it's been fun to do. New emphasis for me in the company, trying to put myself out there as a kind of conservative New Englander. It's not something I was originally comfortable with. Just keep your head down, do the work, and then you realize that if you're going to do the right thing for your company, really media is all personal now, and no one wants to follow a company. They want to follow a person. So here I am, world. I'm ready to be followed.
Yeah, exactly. And just let's give a quick overview of Blueleaf, what you do, how you help clients, and then we'll kind of dig into our topic of the day around client experience.
Sure. Yeah, as you said, we're an all-in-one wealth management platform. So what does that mean? Typically, it means that you've got the big three areas of functionality. So you deliver reporting, you deliver billing and invoicing, you deliver trading and rebalancing, which we do all of those things. What separates Blueleaf from most other platforms is we've got a massive emphasis on client experience and advisor experience, and we have since our founding. It's in our DNA. And we seek to really engage both parties to make sure that they're connected, and in the client's case, that they're connected to the advisor's brand. and they're connected in a modern way, not the way that the industry has typically done. And you mentioned it's sort of this Netflix playbook. We'll get into it in a bit. The other thing that's unique about what we do is our pricing model is a little different than everybody else, and it tends to lead to people paying 30 to 40% less than a competing solution, because you can pick and choose your functionality.
Okay, great. And I know as part of your role, being the chief product officer and innovating and trying to find new ways to help advisors, you do a lot of primary research.
Yes.
And
tons.
I know you were telling me in our conversation before this a few weeks ago that you were coming across this theme of the kind of fundamental challenge that you're seeing with RIA leaders and financial advisors is that they don't want to run the business. They want to focus on their clients. They want to focus on the reason they got into the business, whether it's managing the portfolio, having the client meetings. They want to kind of do what they want to do. Can you share a little bit about that insight that you've discovered through your phone calls and interactions with advisors?
Sure. Yeah, happy to do it. And as you said, we do a lot of primary research. So this is a result of maybe 50 or 60 research calls that I did personally, and obviously my team does many more. But their research lines up with the same things that I've heard. And one of our customers, a friend of mine, coined this phrase that I think embodies it, which is most mid-size and smaller advisors are sort of accidental business owners, right? They started a practice, and they started their practice to help people, right? To get in, help a client, work through their financial life, and it's all about delivering care, right? Financial care to people. But as they grow, as you get successful at that, suddenly you've got a business underneath you in many cases, once you go from being a solo practitioner. And the business starts to weigh on a lot of these people, because that they want to help people. That's really why they do what they do. And so they get into this tension where running the business, they feel very strongly, is taking them away from clients, and they don't enjoy running the business. So that was a very interesting theme, and I'm sure many of your listeners can relate to this. And look, there's plenty of advisors who love the business aspect and running the business and building the business, but I think this is a significant portion of the population that feels this way and is really trying to minimize that aspect of running their business so that they can really focus on clients.
Yeah, I think that's a fascinating insight, and one that I do see, especially because I do work with advisors who are sort of shaping version 2.0 of their RIA. So they have gotten to that point, right, where they're now stepping more into the CEO role, or they might be taking over for a founder, right, who is getting ready to leave, and they're kind of stepping in as the second generation and looking and saying, okay, wow, I have to take all this on now. I'm not as familiar with this because I've been doing the advisory work. And many do embrace that, but there is still the tension of, I want to work with clients and I want to run the business, or I have to run the business, because I want to create something more than just myself. Right.
Right.
But I think it's all, and the where you come in here with your system is like, how is it that you can help free up the time and of the advisor, of the team, even by providing automation and tools and an experience that they can offer clients that will help deepen the engagement and keep advisors top of mind? Yeah,
sure. So there's a lot of different places where we add automation. Obviously, many of the practice management functions of the software will do that. Trading and rebalancing, we've got a fair bit of automation in there. The place where we hear from our customers that we make the biggest difference is really in automation in terms of client engagement and where our system really shines. Our customers tend to really want to engage their clients. They realize that their brand needs to be front and center. They need to be top of mind, not only for client satisfaction, which gets driven pretty far north when you start to accelerate the amount of contact you have with clients, but also because it starts to help with share of wallet. It helps with gathering new assets. And it's really a kind of a key lever to growing the firm internally without necessarily having to pull in new clients, right? It's getting more from every client relationship. It helps drive and make referrals consistent. So that's an area of automation where we've found our customers to be the happiest and really what makes them love what we do.
Right. And one of the things that we talked about, and we'll get back to this, I want to talk about the Netflix playbook concept, because I think that really resonated with me in terms of a way to really internalize this. But we talked about the problem of advisors, once you have a relationship with clients and, things are going fine, that they tend to get a little quiet with clients, and they don't have nearly enough outreach or touch points. It might only be 4 or 5 a year, if that, right? If they're
Right.
like, okay, let me, on a year where there's nothing new happening, there may be even less, aside from like, okay, the quarterly statement or the update, or, if they're on your newsletter list, maybe that's another 12 times they see you. But I think that is a piece where you threw out a number, and I'm not sure the source of this, of they should have 150 touch points with clients throughout the year.
Yeah.
One every 3 days.
I can feel the eggs being thrown from the
No,
back
I'm
seats
already
now.
like people getting really, oh, what do you mean 150?
Right.
They're like, what? I think they're going to turn off the recording right now, but stay with us.
Stay with us. Bear with us. It didn't come from me. It came from Jason Wenk, actually. The founder of Altruist and somebody who really helped a lot and who I worked very closely with in founding Blueleaf. But let's zoom back out and talk and frame the problem a little bit.
Yes.
The most common client experience for wealth managers is silence. That is mostly what your clients experience. They experience your silence. Because as you said, Kristin, in a traditional model, you might have 1 to 4 meetings a year. You may send out, separate reports. There's a few more touch points there. Maybe you've got a monthly or even a weekly newsletter, maybe, but most people, it's monthly. So you're at like 20 or 25 if you're on that monthly cadence. That means for 340 days a year, you are not relevant in their lives. They hear nothing. And I think the insight that Jason Wenk had early on was you need to be very front and center in your client's life. Now, that doesn't mean, and everybody, I can hear the rumbles now, I don't want to bother my client. I don't want to, yeah. So that is an expression of fear about the quality of the information and the value of the information you share. You're never bothering somebody with high quality, high value information. You're just not. And by the way, they're the arbiter of what's high quality and high value. We are not. So what Jason kind of recognized and what we helped model together was this idea that you want multiple touch points from multiple places in your firm, and about different things. So he would send out his marketing information that would hit maybe weekly. So that's 52 touch points a year. And this isn't marketing, I'm trying to sell you something. This is problem solution format. Here's a problem that we experienced with the client, and here's how we solved it. If you've got the same problem, contact us. Very value added. And if you're doing your marketing right, this could come right off the shelf. So that's one form. You continue to do your traditional stuff, which is your 20 to 25 other touch points. And Blueleaf tends to automate a bunch of automated micro reports, we call them, small touch points that give you a brief update on your money. Most of our customers use those weekly. Jason Wenk certainly did. And then we've added a new thing to the mix where we talk about service updates. So these are things where you mix in little things that you're doing in the background that your clients would never otherwise hear about. And we've incorporated video into these when we talk to our advisors, and they'll do a quick video update. Hey, Cindy, we just reviewed your asset allocation. Things look great. We're going to hold off on the rebalance right now. Just wanted to know we're looking out for you and keep doing what you're doing, and we'll be in touch. And they'll fire off a little, 30-second video that does this. And they'll get another 10, 15, 20 touch points a year. And often those are staff members in the background who do work that clients wouldn't otherwise know about. So now you've broadened the relationship at your firm. When you add all those up, you get to about 150 very varied touch points that come from different different parts of your firm about different things. And it just kind of slips into your life. Now, the Netflix example is really instructive here because most of you have Netflix or Facebook or some other modern service. And I bet right now, if you go to your email or your mobile device, your application, you've got a message or an email inbound that's giving you something value added. It might be, hey, Kristin, based on what you've been watching, here's a couple of shows you might like. Mm-hmm. Or it could be some other kind of an update. Oh, so-and-so put up an update. We know you follow them, so maybe you want to know about it. So these systems don't sit passively and wait. They push value-added information out to you and then allow you to easily connect back to the system. Sometimes it's direct, where you click on the link that they give you. Much more often, and this is also the case with Blueleaf in the way that we implement, it's simply become top of mind so that you remember tonight when you get home, oh yeah, I wanted to watch that show. And in the case of Blueleaf, the way that we deliver this, it might be, oh yeah, I wanted to see about Cindy's update, and I'm just going to take a look now and take a quick peek. So it really ties people into advisors' brand and their brand experience and keeps the value that they deliver top of mind.
Yeah, I absolutely love that because I think it is so important that you keep demonstrating what it is you're doing, because so much of it is we looked and we're not changing anything. And that at some point you are going to change something. And I know that my husband and I work with a financial advisor, and he'll always, we have our quarterly meeting, and he'll always flip back to the page of how much did it cost, right? It's a percentage of AUM, and he'll look and go, okay. And I can see him making that calculation in his head.
What did you do for me?
Do I think it's worth that amount or not? And I keep telling him, I was like, well, it's really important because I don't want to be checking to see if we're still in our asset allocation we're supposed to be, if we have to rebalance. I don't want to have to tax loss harvest. I don't want to have to do these things on my own. Frankly, I want to be removed from the emotion of managing my portfolio. And I see that, but he's like, I don't necessarily know they're doing that. So I see the value of that in a huge way, to be able to just get in front and say, guess what? We look to see if there are any tax changes we could take advantage of. Nothing right now. There might be something on the horizon with the election, so we'll keep you posted.
Exactly.
I think that is a huge value add. And when you start thinking about how do people, equate what they're paying you to what they're getting, it's like they don't know most of the things you're doing as in the background, just keeping up to speed on legislation or, tax law or things like that. It's like, okay.
Exactly. And so if you think about it, we're delivering in our industry, we're delivering a completely abstract service, right? Mm-hmm. There's nothing tangible. So we've tried to make it tangible by some huge performance report, which literally no one wants to read. No one wants to read. Well, maybe you're in 2 engineering clients that you've got might want to read that, but almost everybody else wants to avoid that like the plague. You could do the same thing with a big financial plan, but now the trend is 1-page financial plan, which makes a lot of sense.
Right.
But what's actually going on in the background is we're delivering a service, which means it's a process. Mm-hmm. So finding ways to report out on the process and changes over time, whether it's here's small incremental changes in your money, not performance, but just how your balance sheet is evolving. And here are the things that we are doing for you in the background that you'd otherwise not know about, and bringing that to light. And that's where also the content comes in, problem solution. Hey, we were just doing this work for another client and we wanted to tell you about it in case you have similar issues, right? That is also deeply value added. It all starts to paint a picture of what it means to work with you and what you're actually doing in the background all the time. So it makes that intangible tangible.
Absolutely. And I was thinking with the problem solution piece that you talk about, not only does it broaden your client to be like, oh, I actually do have that problem, and I didn't realize you could help me with that. Also, if they're talking with friends and family and others, and they hear, oh, well, we're actually dealing with XYZ problem, they're now,
Exactly.
your clients now aware that that is something you can help with. And so it
Exactly.
facilitates a conversation a lot easier there.
Exactly. And everyone's a little, referrals are an interesting subject, and it's a recurring theme, right? Everybody wants to drive referrals. If you
Right.
think about it, that content really aids in driving referrals, because that dinner table conversation becomes then not, oh, I'm going to have my guy contact you, which is uncomfortable.
Right.
I'm going to give my gal your email address or whatever. That
Right.
can be a little weird. It can start out simply with, oh, let me just forward you this email because, Kristin sent me this information and it's completely on point to what you're talking about. I think she's
Right.
got some great ideas. And then it becomes much more comfortable. Plus your brand starts to go further, right? It becomes
Right.
shareable, snackable.
I love the snackable. That's a great word, snackable. It's like, it was funny because today I was driving my daughter to school, and then I was, it might have been NPR or something who was playing. They were talking about how in America we tend to snack way more than other nations and things like that. And we need our snacks, and we like to graze throughout the day. And I feel like having snackable information in terms of client communication can be really relevant as well, because you're like just small bits. And I also imagine that it feels pretty good when you're hearing from your advisor, even not like they're calling and you're picking up the phone or you have to have a formal
Right.
meeting, but you get so much when you get so much email and if you're texting or whatever the various ways are, you're going to the portal, all of those different things, it's your money. So if you can make it feel like, wow, this person's really thinking about me and my money, I imagine the trust factor goes way up. And then the sort of panic or stress goes way down.
It does. And we've actually seen that as a result of this approach.
Okay.
Yeah, and what we see is when this is fully implemented, you tend to see panic phone calls during market dips go down pretty substantially.
Wow. Okay.
And the reason for that is there's a couple of different reasons. There's a habituation that happens over time when you give people little snackable updates on their money. So they see how it moves over time. And interestingly, they say how different it is than the market, right? Almost everybody's in a diversified portfolio. Right. The S&P is off 5% this week, which is a pretty bad week. And, you're off, 2%. Oh, okay. Right. So what Jim Cramer is talking about has nothing to do with me. And they start to get used to that idea. Also, all of this problem solution formatted content starts to remind them why they're doing their thing in the first place, why it makes sense to stick with the plan. And you get to, I hate to use this word, but it's essentially indoctrinate them into your approach over time. And those two things together really insulates them from all the noise. And let's face it, the media is on 24/7. And you got to ask yourself, what are you doing to combat that narrative and replace it with your own narrative?
Right.
Well, this is the answer to that.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, especially if we can do like a healthy mix of the problem solution type of things, or the, personal outreach that aren't necessarily portfolio driven,
right.
but potentially other parts of the financial planning process, elements related to estate planning or taxes or other parts. So we're showing the breadth of service that we're offering / the number of things we're taking off your plate, right? So a lot of people get honed in on if we're just reporting on the portfolio and we're just reporting on, coming in and checking your statements or whatever it is, then you're kind of keeping it to that mindset of, oh, you manage my stocks and bonds. You buy stocks and bonds.
Exactly. You want to make it a much bigger conversation if you can. And like these micro reports I'm talking about. So some of our firms use those to just update on the money they manage. But our most successful firms update on the entire balance sheet, everything.
Cool. I love that.
And that puts what you manage in a kind of context that's really important. And it also shows, oh, wait a minute. So my net worth is changed by X and my portfolio is changed by Y. And you start to get a feeling for that relationship. Again, a lot of it's just getting people comfortable with the way all these things move in a way that's not scary. It feels really personal.
Right, right. And importantly, from the advisor point of view, how much effort is required from them to like get something like this up and running? Like, what does that look like?
Oh, yeah.
Because it does sound daunting.
So on the, on the part that Blueleaf automates, it's incredibly quick. We can get that set up in less than an hour. For the problem solution type content, I mean, that really depends on what you're doing for marketing today. For a lot of advisors, as we're talking to them, because we coach well beyond what our software does. And when we're talking to advisors, we often discover that they have all of this stuff off the shelf. And it's a quick rewrite of their stuff just to tighten it up, shorten it up, make it a little more snackable. And that, by the way, is a magical use of AI, right? You could throw this into ChatGPT or Claude, which is one of my favorites for human, something that feels human. And it will even stick to your style. So it doesn't change much. You rewrite it and shorten it with that. You take a quick review. I mean, that's 5 minutes. You can have a staff person do that. You just do a quick review. And it's pretty straightforward to do that. So, and then the automation, of course, I mean, that's all your marketing automation. So this might be a MailChimp newsletter system that you use. There's a million of these things. You know them better than I do, Kristin. So those can be pretty straightforward parts of your process. It's just thinking about it a little bit different and angling it toward your clients, not just toward prospects.
Right. Oh, 100%. And I think, especially as firms get bigger, the segmentation of content to clients versus prospects makes sense. When they're smaller, it's like, okay, let's kind of put it all out there in one way. We only have so much bandwidth, but over time, that's the beauty of setting these things up, is to be able to have the segmentation and have that automated and sent out on your behalf. I have seen the same thing with advisors. When I go in, I go, all right, what is the content you currently have? And they're like, well, we don't really do any. And then I go, all right, show me a financial plan that you might present. Show me, oh, we had these articles from a newsletter. Oh, we have a subscription to this service, but we don't use it. And all of the various types of content that they might have. Oh, we recorded videos, but we didn't really know what to do with them. We have all of these different things. And if you can take those, to your point, that's a perfect place to leverage AI and just kind of generate out 50 different snacks there.
I mean, AI is fantastic at repurposing existing content.
Exactly.
And creating multiple pieces from it.
Right.
The thing I'd say, though, to most advisors who are thinking about, oh, maybe I could use some of my marketing, segmentation is great. Don't mishear this. And I love it as a trained marketer. I believe in segmentation. But if you're struggling to get started, do the simplest first version, something that's valuable to just about anybody, including your clients, that may be a little more subtle sell than you might do to a strict prospect, and send it to everybody. And then when you have time and energy and all, then start to segment, right? But you can write content in a way that is helpful for both your current clients and prospects, which is why I'm such a big fan of the problem solution format.
Yes, I love that, because it does have multiple use, like we talked about, in terms of getting more share of wallet, getting more referrals, / letting a prospect or a lead warm up to you and how you can help them. For sure. And it's funny, I just did a LinkedIn newsletter that should be, I think it's kind of emailing out as we're interviewing here, that was about progress over perfection, and how you might have this, especially coming to in the marketing realm and communication realm, of thinking, well, I want to do it perfectly. So if I'm doing, and I see it mostly with this, where it's like, well, shouldn't I have it different for clients versus prospects versus people who are brand new into my funnel? And that would be the ideal way to do it. Therefore, I won't do anything until I can make it ideal. And then you're like, okay, let's be iterative.
Yeah. Don't wait for that. Right.
Yes. Get it out there and fix later.
Yes. Yeah. And anything valuable is more than zero, right? So anything you can put out there that's going to be of value to somebody, where they can learn something, where they can feel more about what you do and how you deliver your services, that's value. Don't stop. Don't tweak it. Let it go. Because the other thing is, and this is something I've learned over the years in product research and marketing research, et cetera, I don't care what you expect to happen. I don't care what you believe people want and need, et cetera. You don't know. one of the greatest lessons I've learned is humility. I know I don't know. I'm going to guess, I'm going to hypothesize, but I know whatever people do is going to be different than I expect. So stop trying to guess, put it out there, see what happens, iterate.
Right. Yes. I mean, it's pretty much a live test, right? You're like,
Exactly.
okay, I'm just going to put out there, oh, that's funny. I would have thought that would have gotten a ton of traffic or resonate with everyone. And meanwhile, the topic that you were like, okay, I'll do this one, but I don't know. And then you're like, okay, I see a problem I didn't know was there. And I love that. I love the NIM. If you've ever done a Colby, have you ever done the Colby personality test?
I don't think I've done that one, but I've read about it.
Yeah. So I'm a quick start, which means I don't have a problem like throwing something out there and seeing how it works. But a lot of advisors, that's uncomfortable for them. So I try to put it in the realm of this is marketing, this is sales, this is client experience. It's not the financial plan or your recommendation or things like that, where you want to be more obviously focused on detail and perfection and getting things accurate.
Right.
There's a big band of acceptable in marketing, right?
Yes.
That you can go, okay. I mean, probably the worst outcome is it falls on deaf ears, right?
Right. Exactly. Well, so we just talked about one of the biggest mistakes, which is not actually taking action, right? Holding off until you get it perfect. The second biggest mistake I see when people are thinking about their marketing and client communication is over extrapolating feedback. So you get one client who sends a snarky reply and you freak out and you're like, I'm going to stop this for everybody.
I'm shutting this down.
I'm shutting this down. And no. That was the one person. And I'd argue that it may not even make sense to shut it off for that person. They just may have had a bad day and it has nothing to do with you. So be very careful about the way you extrapolate a single response or even a couple of responses. That could just be a segment emerging. Great. These are people who just really don't want more email.
Right.
Then figure out how to manage that, right? Don't believe if you hear it from two people, it's everybody. It's not.
Right. I know I had to stop myself from looking at unsubscribes and being like, well, who unsubscribed? Why would they unsubscribe? And, as long as it's not a big, huge number, as long as it would be like a few people, less than half of a percentage, like tiny little decimals of unsubscribe. But I'm like, what happened? Was that not good? And then I was
used to take that so personally.
I know. Now I'm like, oh, good. They're saying I don't need this. This is not fitting who I am, or I no longer want to have emails coming in my inbox. I had some client who was one of my early clients, and I saw he unsubscribed. So I reached out to him. This was years ago, because I was like, what's up? He's like, oh, I'm just removing myself from all lists and then starting fresh. He's like, I've just decided to clear out. It's nothing, And I was like, oh, interesting. You don't know. And frankly, I unsubscribe from things all the time that I'm like, not right now. I don't need this right now. Exactly. I might come back. But yeah, so I think that's really important. And I think definitely I see that you're like, okay, someone heard from one or two clients that they didn't like X, Y, or Z. And you're like, okay, well.
Now no one else gets that value.
No one else.
You don't want to let two clients set the agenda for all your other clients.
Right. Exactly. That's a really good point. I can already picture, like, I love the breaking down of the 150. I think that's a good challenge for everyone to be like, how many times are you engaging with a client in various ways? And I bet many people listening will hit a number around 20 or 30 rather than 150. So that's a high bar.
That's a start.
Yeah.
And all you need to do is more, the next thing. Right? You don't have to go from 0 to 150. That's not what we're talking about. And 150 will be very difficult for you to wrap your head around unless you start to think about all the services in your life and how often they communicate with you.
Yeah, I love that parallel. And it's helped me notice. I mean, think about Amazon. You think they're afraid to tell you what they recommend? Not at all.
And we love Amazon, don't we?
And we love it. And we're like, yes, what else? What else? What else?
Exactly.
Can you do this? And you're like, ultimately, anything. You're like, well, I'm sure I can find that on Amazon. Hold on. Let me see. I bet they can help me with that.
Exactly. And that's exactly where you want to be in your client's life. You want to be the thing that they think of when anything has to do with money. You want to be the thing that comes to mind immediately. And for most advisors, you're not at the forefront of their mind. They may eventually get there, maybe, but they may think about, oh, I need a will, so they're thinking about a lawyer. But maybe you do estate planning and really should be in that conversation. It could be a variety of ancillary or other services that are related to what you do, that unless you are talking about it on a regular basis to your client base, they have no clue and they will not think about you.
100%. Well, I know, John, you and I could keep going on this, but
yes, we could.
Alas, we do need to wrap up. If advisors are interested in learning more about your offering and how they might be able to start taking advantage of some of these automated services and get, take a look at your wealth management platform, how can they best get in touch with you?
The best thing is come to our website, obviously. It's www.blueleaf.com. Also, they can always connect with me on LinkedIn. I will connect with every advisor that asks. I love advisors. It's my tribe. It's who I'm here to support. So John Prendergast on LinkedIn. Believe me, I'm all over the place on LinkedIn. You'll see me.
You won't miss him, believe me.
I got a little green background. I do everything from the sublime to the ridiculous on LinkedIn. So connect there. Those are the two best ways, probably. Okay,
great. Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. This is a really fun conversation. And like I said, I love getting into the client experience and how can you deliver above and beyond surprise and delight, all of those great things, and let them know the value. And it's so rare that a marketing conversation gets to go there. So thank you.
Yeah, I love it. It's why I do what I do.
Look, I'm going to just jump in here as we're getting ready to close this, and I want to drive home a point because it picked my ears up when you talked about you follow the Netflix formula. For advisors who don't understand what that means, it means that Netflix is intentional with its data, and it drives them to understand their customer behavior, they enhance the user experience, optimize their content library, and this is the most important part, it makes them enormously profitable in an area where the likes of Disney and others have been floundering, flailing, and losing millions and millions of dollars. So, Kristin, this is a really, really important conversation because we got to people need to understand the intentional use of data is not, or it shouldn't be scary. It should be a key to unlocking all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Bill. And what I'd add to that is the other aspect is eliminating passivity, right? Most of our systems in wealth management sit passively and wait and hope for someone to show up. And that is not how any of these services work. They are active at reaching out and actively trying to deliver information, actively providing value, and then you loop back to the service. And that's exactly how you want to think about generating a fantastic digital client experience.
Yeah, and that is what we are all after, as a matter of fact. Kristin, we know how to reach out to John. How do we reach out to you if we want to get in touch with you and see if your services can be of help and of use to us?
Well, as always, Bill, you can go straight to fulladvisorcoaching.com. The website there. If you want to speak with me, click the button in the upper right corner. It says request a call. I love having conversations with advisors, happy to give guidance, happy to give feedback there. And like John, I am all over LinkedIn. So connect with me on LinkedIn. I love connecting with advisors. I connect with every advisor who reaches out. So feel free to do that as well.
Yeah, y'all are a perfect couple in that regard. Absolutely.
There you go.
I can attest. Yeah, it's true. And for those of you who are listening to this podcast for the first time, here's something you can do that's the easiest of all the things. Hit the follow button. Become a subscriber. That way, every time Kristin drops a new episode of her podcast, you are notified and you can give it a listen. I would also urge you to tell people about this podcast. If you like what you hear, share it. If you find it useful, tell people. Word of mouth promotion is a tremendous tool and it is much appreciated by us. So thank you. I'm Bill Tucker. Until next time, on behalf of Kristin Harad, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen today. And I want to remind you that you can go out today and make today a great day or not. It's your choice. Use it wisely. Until next time.